Welcome to the Josh Button Podcast, Episode 4, Dealing with Liars. I wanted to talk about health and wellness. I wanted to talk about habits and hacks, mantras and mottos, but before we get to that, there's other things on my chest. And today, it's dealing with liars. I forget what age I was when my dad told me, and it might have been somebody else that was probably very wise to do so. I forget exactly the circumstances, but it was, if an employee will lie for you, he will lie to you. And that had a profound impact on my relationships with employers, more so than employees. I've had far more employers than I've had employees. And obviously, the need for truth, I've discussed this before. For myself, it's very important, it's paramount. But when I begin working for somebody, almost anybody that I have began working for at the time I did, I would do pretty much anything within my moral compass and within the realm of what's reasonable for the job. I'd do anything for them. I'd run through walls for them. I'll go above and beyond. I like to prove myself, not going to what I've been asked for, but above and beyond. I've always prided myself in that. So research, things that I could educate myself on that would make me better at the position I was fulfilling, it was just never a question. I was going to do that. I was always going to strive for excellence so that you could never underestimate my value, and so that you wouldn't question it. I think now we are so used to dealing with liars that it's become expected to deal with liars as opposed to expecting to have someone very honest and forthright in a relationship, whether that be professional or personal, unfortunately. You can look at social media, and just one example is how filtered people's lives are through the lens of social media. I don't have a very good opinion of it because of the things that have been asked of me from my social media, first and foremost, but also from what I see people I know really well put forward, which I understand is not really in alignment with reality. It's not in alignment with the truth about the situations they're encountering day to day, who they really are, and what's going on behind the lens. It's unfortunate too, because there's a lot of great people out there that just do not understand. They should probably give up the mask, give up the false images, and let the ego go, because they are a far better person and far more valuable than what they're actually portraying or trying to portray. I think we should all be aware that we've been dealing with liars in our government, liars in education systems, liars in all of those agencies that we thought were created and set out to protect us, defend us, educate us, and they weren't really doing what they said they were doing or what they were presented to be doing. They weren't solving problems. They were oftentimes causing problems. I think most of us should be aware that, historically speaking, we have gotten one side of a lot of stories, one side of a lot of propaganda, to be quite honest, and we've allowed that to carry into the present throughout our lives. In other words, even let's look back at George Bush and weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. That's one glaring example of complete dishonesty. No matter what the ends and the means to an ends were for the government at that time, we were led to believe that this was weapons of mass destruction that required attention immediately on the world stage. And this was presented as America is going to go in and save the day from this madman Saddam Hussein, who is ready to cause great detriment to the entire world with weapons of mass destruction. There's still no weapons found in Iraq. I think we are all aware of that. And we are all aware that George Bush knew this ahead of time. That if he didn't personally, his advisors that were instructing him what we were going to do knew for sure. Cheney, I'm looking at you. And we allowed our government to get away with that. Nobody's been held responsible. As a matter of fact, their crimes are compounded. The list is unbelievably long. The consequences of going into Iraq then led us to Afghanistan, led us to poppy production numbers that were absolutely skyrocketed when the U.S. military was in Afghanistan. You can tell by the numbers that fell off when we left. Most of our foreign policy has been dictated by lies. We have been manipulated. We've been baited into wars that we did not belong in. We've been baited into being the policeman around the world when we definitely did not need to be. We needed to be butting out of a lot of the situations, but analyzing the information that we were fed a lot better because it's going through us. They've presented us things along the way to fearmonger or to sway us into supporting these foreign wars. I think it's important that we all understand if we are dealing with liars, we are not being honest with ourselves, our integrity has taken a severe hit, and our self-preservation just that instinct isn't being honed. It's being ignored. It's being buried. And it comes to fruition and to play out in situations like we've witnessed in the last couple of years where people make irrational decisions based upon fear. I'm afraid I can't travel. I'm afraid of a disease. I'm afraid of a virus. I'm afraid of not fitting in with my friends and my peers who are all speaking one way and being influenced by government agencies or the media or any of the other institutions that have kind of fear-mongered people into making irrational decisions. The government lies. We know this. We silence whistleblowers. Julian Assange. Seth Rich in the DNC. He was coming out to... Let's leave the entire details of it alone. Seth Rich was killed for whistleblowing on the Democratic Party. We don't have to get into the Clintons list. But we all know by now there is a long list. And nobody is that unlucky. There aren't 60 people that close to me that could possibly be unlucky enough to face uncertain deaths and situations where people died for absolutely heinous reasons if you look and inspect why they died and why they were killed. But they were killed, and we haven't made the criminals face the music. We've allowed them to get away with this. And that means in our consciousness as a country and as citizens, we've let things go and we've buried them. And we can't be honest with ourselves or be who we are supposed to be as long as we're admonishing these facts. As long as we are allowing the perpetrators of such great offenses and fraud to get away with it, we cannot be healthy. We cannot live the lives that we are intended to live. No matter what your beliefs on what your purpose is in life, we're not supposed to be indentured servants to an elite state or to bankers or to an industrial war complex, and we're not supposed to take all the lies that they give us, feed us, and bury them. That in itself leads to an unhealthy environment or a culture of unhealthy people, and let alone the fact that we're being poisoned by these institutions that are supposed to be protecting us. Fluoridated water, the Centers for Disease Control, the vaccine programs. Let's talk about the vaccine programs for a second. There was a big account on Instagram this week, Grant Cardone, who just posted the numbers, the actual numbers for the vaccine schedule, what it was in, I believe, 83, 84, versus what it is today. and the increase in illnesses, let alone autism, and the increase in the vaccine numbers in the schedule compared to today. He just posted a question if people thought that this could be connected. If you go into the comment section, he was attacked repeatedly over and over and over and over and over again, but with the same kind of messaging. So much so that it's opaque. These are bots. Bots with fake personas, fake accounts, fake followers that are all regurgitating the same lies. They're not that hard to debunk. They really aren't. Causation and correlation. That's everybody's argument with vaccines. However, anybody that presents that argument is either just repeating what they've heard on mainstream media or from their doctor and not doing a lick of research or diligent reading on the subject. There's plenty of papers, plenty of peer-reviewed research that raises the question, are these safe and effective at all? Not just the COVID vaccine, but all of them. The ingredients themselves, if they're neurotoxins and known poison, how can just a little bit of them in a long ingredient list of compounding ingredients that cause damage going to make you healthier? I think if you go into the vaccine subject in itself and you do a fair amount of reading and research, you can come to the conclusion that there's other elements at play which make people share that same point of view. Nobody's going to tell you they were double-blind placebo tested. Nobody's going to tell you about the rigorous studies that were used to prove how effective they were, because they don't exist. They just don't. Every pediatrician that, I believe it is 100 kids under 2 years old that they have fully vaccinated, gets $40,000 bonuses. That in itself should trigger enough of a question that we would go a little bit further and look into, well, how were these things tested, if nothing else? Forget whether it causes autism or not. Forget what diseases it causes, or if it causes any diseases at all. Are they safe and effective? That's I think, a responsible question to ask before you put them into your child. A lot of us, most of us, were vaccinated as children, but we were vaccinated with 2 or 3 different things before we were age 6 or 7. And now the numbers are astonishing. Absolutely mind-boggling how many vaccines they want to put into your child before the age of 2. The schedule is so packed together with so many different things. If you believe that your child needs that, you can't believe in an immune system anymore. We did not have these 200 years ago. You cannot possibly believe that in the last couple hundred years, all of these illnesses and all of these things have popped up, which we needed to solve ahead of time in a lab by shoving these things into your children and allowing immune development that way. We had immune systems throughout all of time. How is this possible? I ask myself that all the time. How is this possible? And I have come to the conclusion it's only possible because self-preservation is so severely lacking due to us accepting lies across the board, due to us burying the fraud that we've already become aware of, because that's easier than addressing it and living with it. Living with the possibility that we've been lied to across the board about so many different things, and that so many people are involved, or so many people are refusing to make the stand, to take the stand, to share the news or the information or the data with their friends, with their associates, with their family members. Because if you really took a look at some of these things and you digested them, there's no way you could be silent anymore. There's no way you could obviously go along with it. You could never trust the science again in your life. You could never trust the authorities that are telling you to trust the science, or the media that tells you to trust the science. Don't do your own thinking. Don't do your own reading. Don't do your own research. Don't listen to any counter opinions on any of these subjects, because if you do, you are a bad citizen. You're even worse. You're a terrorist. If you do any reading, any diligent research that points you to draw a conclusion, you might not want to trust these sources that are so put right out front in front of the public to digest. If you question it, you're a terrible person. And how dare you? Does this remind you of some of the things that we saw in the beginning of COVID? It only took a year and a half, 2 years for the people that were completely blacklisted, that were completely censored, that were completely blackballed by the establishment to be proven true. To be proven to be the responsible citizens, the responsible individuals who actually cared about their health, who decided, no, I'm going to hold off, I'm going to let my immune system deal with this if I happen to get anything. I'm going to see what happens and fight it off. And you know what? I'm not going to go take tests every day. I'm not going to go shove a swab up my nose to see if it comes back and test positive for anything that they're testing for, because if I feel fine, why should I? Why should I shove something up my nose to tell me, oh, there might be something under the surface here that needs addressing with medication or with isolation? Just doesn't make any sense. And for those of us who stood our ground and held that truth for ourselves from the get-go, it only took a year and a half, 2 years to be completely admonished. What does that tell you about Fauci, the CDC, the media? I hope it tells you that there are known liars now. This didn't start yesterday. This did not start yesterday. These institutions are either complete failures across the board, or this is what they were created to do. You're going to have to face that reality. You're going to have to decide for yourself whether you want to stick your head in the sand and keep on keeping on and grinding away and doing what you're told, or stop complying. Do not comply with liars. This will make you ill in one way or another. Stress causes all kinds of dis-ease, all kinds of illness. We know this because we are resilient creatures that can withstand all kinds of stress, and we have throughout all time. However, they compound, and when you cannot recover from just 1-2 stressors that have compiled on you, you are then put into a state of dis-ease. That's why some of the biohackers that are so successfully proving different health methods at this moment are actually going to the past. They're going to practices from the past and going, our ancestors had some of these things correct. Some of the things that we are now avoiding, we really shouldn't have been avoiding. We should have been engaging more of. Sunlight, grounding, breath work. The hot cold therapy is amazing. There's all these principal activities, and going to the beach, all these things that were taken away from us, stripped from us as far as informationally speaking. They were taken away from us maybe for a reason. Maybe because there's a lot of institutions that make a lot of money off of sick people. They weren't honest about the ramifications of technology. In the last couple hundred years, we see sickness kind of incongruent with technological advances, and that's completely just washed away. It's not discussed by the media. It's not discussed by Tony Fauci or any of the other authorities in the health world. Our government decides to punish truth tellers. They censor truth tellers. This isn't new either. Holistics. There was a lot of money spent getting rid of holistic medicines. I believe it's the Flexner Report, Rockefeller-Flexner Report. I might be off on that term, but I think it's the Flexner Report, early 1900s. They got rid of holistic medicines. Why? Because they worked. Because you couldn't make money off of a lot of them, on natural herbs and different things from the past that our cultures had, our ancestors had passed down, and our cultural, I guess, machines decided they were going to deal away with because they couldn't make money. It wasn't profitable. I want to go to a couple quotes. These are both very relevant because they're very old quotes. One, CIA Director William Casey said, "We'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false." Now, he was the CIA Director in 1981 and 1987. Look it up. William Casey. Absolutely mind-boggling statement when you think about it now, because how many things have you been proven to believe or have been led to believe most of your life that just was not true? There's a ton. There's a ton. I thought about writing a list down for today's podcast, and I went, you know what? I'll be writing this list forever. Look, just on the wars, just on the foreign policy alone, how many times U.S. taxpayer dollars have been used for absolutely the opposite of what we were being told they were used for. A lot of this money getting sent to the Ukraine is getting funneled back here into politicians' pockets. We all know that. It's getting laundered. But they are arming them. They are using our dollars to do so. They are actively helping war happen across the sea. And we've done this my entire lifetime. This is not new. Why? Why is the United States, the military power of the United States, and our citizens, why have we been hijacked to accomplish these foreign wars, these foreign destabilization campaigns? Gaddafi, guy goes to restore a sound currency and sound banking for his people. What do? Hillary Clinton bragged about it. We came, we saw, he died. Ha 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 ha. On behest of the bankers, the central bank. You're not allowed to have sound currency. Fiat currency is a lie. Our monetary system is a lie. It's based upon thin air. Thin air. Confidence is dwindling. You see by inflation right now, the printing more dollars doesn't really help. The dollar as the world superpower is falling before our eyes. The BRICS nations joining to create another currency, whether it be gold backed, whether it be Bitcoin, whatever it is, it doesn't change the fact that they're moving off the dollar. They're trading oil and everything, won and rupees right now. They're moving off the dollar. Right now, you'll hear economic experts in the United States saying the dollar's king. The dollar will still be the most traded currency. We'll never give up world domination via the dollar. Well, if you believe them, you might be in trouble, because the signs are out there. There's plenty of reporting from other countries that these agreements have been made. I believe it's 40-something countries right now, and climbing. Due diligence. Look, I don't know if Bitcoin frees us completely, but I do know it's better than fiat at the moment. If it's sound currency, it's finite. You can't inflate it. The scarcity of just the total number that's going to be available, in my opinion, already trumps the dollar. You got people that will bail out every large institution and have done so in our lifetimes multiple times. They bail out the auto manufacturers. They bail out the banks. They bail out these politicians all the time. That's exactly what they're doing. They're taking our money right now and shipping it to Ukraine, washing it, sending it right back to the pockets. How about Corn Pop, the big guy? We're going to stand by and allow him and his son to have these dealings. Nobody's in an uproar over this. We should be. We should be. The Hunter Biden laptop, another lie. Government agencies, FBI told you that it was a hoax. It wasn't his. They buried it before the election. Well, guess what? It was his. What's on it? Oh, misinformation. There's nothing on there. Oh, we've seen a lot of the stuff coming off of that. Now it is absolutely horrific. This guy smoking crack, driving down the road at what was speeds with hookers, and just one or two of the offenses on that laptop would have me and you and anybody that you know locked up for a long, long time, let alone the president's son. Cocaine in the White House. Actually, it turns out there's been more than that cocaine. There was several drugs found in the White House during this administration, and they're sweeping it under the rug. Same thing as lying to you. Lying to you about it existing, lying to you about them knowing whose it is. They're just lying. The other quote. Shortly, the public will be unable to reason or think for themselves. They'll only be able to parrot the information they've been given on the previous night's news. I can't even say his first name. Brzezinski. Zbigniew Brzezinski. Look, almost all our foreign policy is dictated not by our citizens' interest, but by the interest of the bankers, the industrial war complex, and globalists that truly desire, more than anything else, centralized power and to completely control the entire world. We have to know that by now. I accept absolutely nothing they tell us, nothing they feed us, nothing that comes across that television, nothing the media says. Absolutely not. The Mockingbird Media, CIA operation in itself. They all say the same thing. They all parrot the same things for a reason. Anything and everything, I've been saying this for years, that comes across that television comes across for a reason. It's either to distract you and dumb you down or to manipulate you completely. To completely lie to your face. Voltaire said, "Those that can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities." Do you wonder how people went along with the regimes in World War II, World War I, communism? How did people stand by? How did people sign up for gulag duty, for ratting on their neighbors, for any of these atrocities in history? They were made to believe absurdities first. And there was not enough people standing their ground and saying, no, these are lies. I will not be complicit. I will not accept it. I will not encourage anybody else in my life to participate or to comply with you. You are tyrannical. You are evil. And absolutely not. Slavery did not end. Even if you are just thinking about the mental slavery so many people live under today. They believe absurdities. The mask will not save you from anything. Driving alone in your car with a mask on is harming you. It is not saving you from anything. Avoiding physical contact with your friends and family is not saving you from anything. It is making you weaker. These are absurdities, people. Absurdities. And the atrocities that they will make people commit, we should all be evident, are absolutely hellish. These are demons. And they are sharing this misinformation that they're presenting as fact completely willingly. You have to ask yourself at some point in time, what is the end game here? Do not comply. We cannot comply with liars. We have a duty when a government has overstepped its bounds by this much to replace them. How do you replace them? First and foremost, you stop complying with them. You stop parroting what they're telling you. You start getting into the books, into the internet, into real research with other opinions. Seek out the alternate opinions and the alternate views for most of this stuff. The frontline doctors, Oh man, I'm gonna lose her name right now. There was at the very beginning of this a doctor who came forward and said the real Tony Fauci had her research destroyed, had her character just demonized, and all kinds of lies. Oh, what is her name? I'll put it in the show notes when I find it, or in the comments. And RFK wrote a book, The Real Anthony Fauci. Go back to the AIDS epidemic. These people are liars. Why so many? Why across the board? And why would we continue to accept it? I hope self-preservation is restored. It's an instinct. There's a lot of frogs in water, and it's getting real hot right now. And COVID boiled several. If that's the way you want to think about it, that's the way you want to look at it, that's exactly what it did. Because a lot of people really mistreated themselves. They wore the double mask alone in their cars. They were afraid to touch people. They were afraid to go out in public. They were afraid to be in the sunshine. They were afraid of everything. That is absolutely detrimental to your health. A lot of people went out and got the vaccines, the boosters, and we've seen a lot of healthy athletes that took these shots because it was mandated they had to perform what they were preparing their entire lives to do. Soccer players, football players, baseball players. How do these healthy young individuals fall over with myocarditis? They're lying to you now about what's causing this. They've tried to tell you the sun causes it. That right-wing extremism is causing health issues and heart issues. Holy moly. If we believe that, absurdity, we will commit atrocities. It's just a matter of time. We've been manipulated and the facts have been hidden from us. Reality is distorted, and I would say it's inverted right now. I would say it's inverted. The entire West is living in an inverted reality because the loudest voices, the people with the megaphones, the media, the authorities are all lying. Yes, all of them. Abhor secret societies because it's a secret. I don't know what they do in there. There's plenty of tales that will tell you people take oaths all the time and commit vulgar, vile acts to participate in a group which they may or may not believe has really bad intentions or was created for evil purposes. We should abhor it just because it's secret, though. Seriously. It's the same thing as lying. If I'm keeping things from you, I'm lying to you. Lying right to your face. Swift justice would be awesome. I really, really thought it was coming at the beginning of COVID, and I was hoping for it. And nothing would have made me happier. However, I think we're all aware of the fact that swift justice cannot quite be as swift as we would like it, and was nowhere near as quickly as we would have liked it. But maybe it's because we're all still accepting of so many lies of an inverted reality. I don't have all the answers, that's for sure. I could not possibly list for us all of the lies that are commonly and publicly accepted still at this moment. We've exposed a lot, and hopefully there's more coming. This Sound of Freedom movie that people are trying to see, the #1 box office film that is also being fought hand over tooth by the media. They're calling it conspiracy theories, QAnon conspiracy theories, and that it's misinformation. The theaters are trying to stop people from seeing it. There's a lot of coordinated effort to demonize the people responsible for funding it, the actors in it, the Ballard, the operative who the story is about. There is so much effort put into betraying our trust of the film. I'm almost convinced it has to be factual. I haven't seen it yet. I will see it. But I think you should too. Because that's another issue. Child trafficking and slavery that has been manipulated because we are told it's not as bad as it really is. The numbers suggest it is horrific. The ends to why these people are trafficked, and children especially, are even more horrific. Sex trade, yes. Organ harvesting, yes. Evil, satanic, sacrificial rituals, yes. Slavery did not end. We were lied to about slavery in itself. We were lied to about the details of slavery in America and about slavery in the world today, because slavery did not end everywhere, and it did not end here. It's a shame. You have rampant slavery, and most people are unaware of it or don't want to confront the reality of it. Just like they do not want to confront the reality that they're being lied to daily by people they were told to trust or that they were taught to trust. We will not be a healthy society until we demand truth and justice. I am looking forward to the day when we can all individually really put most of our efforts forward to living our own lives, taking care of ourselves, being healthy, and producing the life that we want to live here, creating the kingdom of heaven on earth that I believe we are intended to. But the elephant in the room is an inverted society which is full of manipulation and lies. And it's not acceptable. It cannot be acceptable anymore. Take a stand. Stop complying. Share truth at every opportunity you have. This is the best we can do for now. And if things get worse, it's absolutely imperative that we continue to do so. It is a war. It's an information war. And we must prioritize winning at all cost for our children and for the future generations. The survival of mankind depends on it. Really, I believe that the survival of mankind leans on us demanding truth and then justice. Thank you. It's been another solid episode, and I will see you all soon. Hopefully, we'll get to some really happy and hopeful information to share with everybody soon enough. Josh Button Podcast. See you all soon.